Hello comic book fans and Masters Universe fans. The last issue of He-Man the Eternity War has recently come out. This was issue number 15. This series is a sequel series to the previous Masters Universe series that came out, where the Horde had invaded Eternia. Dan Abnett was the writer for this series. The premise was, after the Horde took over Eternia, He-Man and the Masters Universe teamed up with the Snake Men under the Goddess, who is now Teela. They took refuge in Snake Mountain, of all places, being the Castle Grayskull was overtaken. Hordak, who was no longer flesh, was more of a technological being that was one with the Horde, but he still had somewhat of a construct of himself. But in this series, they did make him flesh, and he was just as powerful as he was before. The series goes back and forth with the taking back of Eternia. He-Man, his sister She-Ra, their fellow warriors, and the Snake Men are able to take it back at a certain point, but then it turns out that Hordak just wanted them to believe this, where he still has the upper hand. The series is great in the sense where it seems as though Hordak is the big bad, but we still have the wild factor of King Hiss and Skeletor. King Hiss turns out to be much more of a minor threat in comparison to what Skeletor ends up doing. I really enjoyed this series a lot, not just this one, the entire Masters Universe comic book line from DC Comics. There are many Masters Universe characters out there. Luckily, this comic book does show a lot of them. Doesn't show all of them, but still I feel as though the variety that they showed was pretty good. There are a lot of positives about this comic book series that I don't want to go into all of them because I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but one of the major things that I thought was great is we get to see a future rendition of King He-Man. And it gives us an excellent reason as to why he even bothers to turn back into King Adam. Also, She-Ra makes a huge presence in this series. In previous series, they were showing her fighting her dark side, where she was taken by Hordak and raised to be evil. So in this series, she's much more redeemed. And the original battle of the entire Masters Universe saga starts out with He-Man versus Skeletor, and that's where this ends as well. Well, that's not where the series ends, that's just where the epic battle ends. The last issue ends with a great conclusion to the series. It leaves some unanswered questions, but I feel like they do that purposely, just so you know the story can continue. Whether or not it will continue, that's really up in the air. DC Comics is going through a rebirth, which I've done different videos on in the past, and Masters Universe has not really been mentioned yet. Masters of the Universe is part of the DC Universe. In fact, we had a comic book series where the Guardians of Eternia have fought the heroes of Earth. We even get to see Earth briefly in this series, but for the most part, all of the battles on Eternia have been separated from everything else in the DC Universe. But if this is the end of the series, which I really hope it's not, I hope they can continue it on, or at least have a She-Ra spin-off series, I'd be really happy about that. But if this is the end of it, I think they did a great job of having everything wrapped up. Most of the other Masters Universe series out there have never had a conclusive ending. This one does, and it's done really well. But in conclusion, did I enjoy this series? Absolutely. But then again, I am very biased, being that I'm a huge Masters Universe fan, but still, I'm probably going to go back and reread all the past comic books up to this point, just to refresh my memory with everything that's happened here. I'll just leave it at that. This is a DC comic book, and it's been collected in trade paperback forms in the past. If you want to get it, you can pretty much get it in any comic book store anywhere, or you can just go to dccomics.com and you can download it digitally from there. So thanks for joining me in this comic book review. Be sure to check out my social media site, my Patreon site, and my website. And with that, I will say, good journey.